Hey there, Gerrid Smith here, local SEO expert. I've been optimizing websites since 2005, and today I am going to share how I perform a local SEO audit. So this is the type of audit that I would perform if a prospect was interested in working with us. They kind of want to see what we would do, or if there's somebody I'm trying to impress. Maybe there's a local, in this case, dentist that I'm like, hey, I'd love to work with these guys. I'll go ahead and throw together a quick audit for them, show them a couple different areas that we would improve to improve their rankings. And, this can work very well for that. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through exactly what this would look like. So if I'm just kind of starting from scratch and I'm like, hey, I'd like to get a local dentist client as an example. Obviously, you want to find somebody ideally outside of the top 3. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the map results. And I was able to find these guys, Hillview Family Dental. They have a lot of reviews. So I would much rather work with them than I would, as an example, Hyde Park here, or Integrated, or, most of these other clients, because once they're ranking in the top 3, you can see here's the top 3 here, they would actually have an advantage because of their reviews and their rating over, the existing top 3 results. So I really liked what these guys had going on. So let's go ahead and click on the Hillview Family Dental. And first thing I would do is just kind of point out some of the issues that they have with their listing. The first and foremost issue that I see, especially when you compare it to some of these other listings that rank higher than them, is the personal pictures. Like, I'm really not a fan of stock photos. I try to avoid using stock photos anywhere we can. We want to get real pictures, even if it's not super high quality. You can actually see right here, their pictures actually looked a lot better in the regular results, but here they look maybe a little bit smushed or stretched or something, but they're a little bit blurry. I would rather have the authenticity of having a slightly blurry picture than using a stock photo like this, where it's like there's no connection. And that's the biggest thing, is when you use real photos, there is a connection that you make with that particular person. That's why I have my video on. I could choose to not have video on, but by having video on, there's a little bit more of a connection that you're going to make with me. And I felt immediately like, oh, these look like some friendly dentists. I would rather do business with somebody I can see who they are than somebody who, is just using stock photos. So the first thing that these guys really need to do is they need to add quite a few more photos. I would say the more photos you can add, the better. Obviously, if you're in a really competitive market, Sarasota, which is where I live, is not the most competitive market, as you will see as we kind of walk through this audit. But if you were in a more competitive market, you'd want 20, 30 pictures. For these guys, maybe 5 to 10 as a starting point would be more than fine. The next thing, I'm just going to kind of skim through and just see if there's anything in here that really stands out as being a negative. Make sure they've got the right category. The thing that definitely feels like it's missing right off the bat is the lack of services. You can add another tab here for services. And I'm actually curious if the number 1 ranked site has services or anything of that nature. I'm not seeing anybody use services right now. But anyway, that is something that could be added in. And ultimately, what you want to do is you want to make sure you're just maxing out every field. And this is just good advice with everything you do. We're building out some different profiles for our own company right now. And I'm like, let's max out every field. Let's, fill up every page with testimonials or whatever we are allowed to share, because the more you share, the more trust can be built with that. It's good to have clients come in here, ask a couple questions, shows activity on the account, but ultimately, there's not a lot of obvious things that need to be changed other than the images, at least on this particular review. But as we dig into this, you're going to see there's a lot of other things that could be changed. So next thing I like to look at, and I kind of have all these in a row, is their speed. Obviously, if I have to wait around for a website to load, that's not a good sign. These guys have great scores, but I want to show you that you should dig a little bit deeper on these. So the initial load was really fast, which is awesome. Fully load is 5.8. It's not great. I really like to see it more in the sub 3-second range, but it's not terrible, right? One of the things I would like to do if we were to work with this client is see if there's some things that we could maybe adjust, maybe just taking 30, 60 minutes to make these changes. Again, it's going to last, for a long time until they switch the site. So a couple of minor changes could be made, maybe optimizing the images, etc. There you go. In order to get it down to sub 3 seconds. If we come over here to the page speed insights tool, you're going to see, they don't have great scores here. Again, not horrible. Obviously, we've seen much, much worse. But these are, things that Google's looking at, and certainly all of your users are going to be looking at. So, making a couple minor adjustments here to improve that page speed score up into the 80s, upper 80s is really ideal. Moving on. So most issues, especially on a local level, are going to come down to links and content. So that's kind of where this next phase of the audit comes into play. So you can see right here, 60 total backlinks. The main number I'm going to look at for most of the audits that we're performing are the referring domains. I want to see how many total websites are linking to them, because you could have one website that links to you a handful of times, and that can kind of skew this total backlink number. But I like to look at referring domains, and I like to look at what's called DR, or domain rating. It's ultimately the score of the website from Ahrefs' point of view. And that's on a scale from 0 to 100. So as you can see, a 1.9 is like extremely low. But again, we're in a very uncompetitive market. They may not need a lot of links to rank, but they are probably going to need a couple more. One of the things I didn't highlight when I started this is where they rank on Google right now. And I believe they were on the 3rd page of Google for Sarasota Dentist, which is not an overly competitive phrase. So I've got 2 competitors here that I'm going to pull up and just kind of compare. But remember that number, 27 referring domains. Here we've got 32. Now, these are the top 2 ranked websites for this particular niche. So not a lot of referring domains. Again, when I build citations for a client, we like to start with 75. And just to clarify, a citation is a local directory listing like a Yellow Pages or a Yelp. So, right off the bat, that would be 32 links. Or right off the bat, that would be 75 links that we're building for a client in the very first month, just to kind of get the ball rolling. So you can see these guys are ranking number 1. They're generating 2,100 visits per month, ranking for 468 keywords with a whopping total of 32 links. That's just not very much. More than likely, all of those are citation related links. They're all local directory links. Number 2 ranked website is these guys, Bayview Dental. The number 2 ranked website is this site, Bayview Dental. They've got 203 referring domains, also, generating a lot of traffic, but they've got, a little bit more going on. What I generally notice when I find a site, a competitor like this that has a lot of links, but is not ranking number 1, especially when it's so much more than a competitor, it's probably some on-page issues. Or some technical issues, but I would say more often than not, it's just basic on-page stuff has not been taken care of. But with our prospect that we're looking at and that we're analyzing right now, it seems like they're going to need a little bit of everything. So I would highlight, you've only got 27 referring domains. That's really less than what you need. And there's 100 plus, 200 plus great local directories that you should be in anyway as a dentist. So let's get you set up in there so that at least you can improve your organic rankings. Now, let's move on to on-page. So my favorite tool for on-page by far is Surfer. And there's 2 particular audits we're going to look at. The first is the SERP Analyzer, which I'm going to pull up here, and that's going to load. And this just kind of shows you like how many words per page, and kind of some different things that you really should have in order to rank well. So you can see right here, actually, this is a little bit of a different competitor than what I saw. So Sarasota Complete. So these guys were number one in my personal search, but in this particular one, they're number two. You can see their on page is really good. That's why they're able to rank well with a lower number of backlinks. So they have a 1 score here, and most of the competitors do. But the top guy has, an okay on-page score, and he has, a much better domain profile. He also has an exact match domain. Sarasota Dentist was the keyword that I put into this tool for SERP Analyzer to analyze. So that's giving them a big boost, a big head start. Doesn't mean we can't beat them. As you can see, on page is lacking. And this guy could just come in and, boost up his link profile and certainly beat him. So this is definitely valuable. I also want to take a look at the body word count and kind of analyze that compared to the site that we are analyzing. And so let's go ahead and visit the website. And what I do is I'll click this, Control A, and then I have this word counter plus. It's super handy. So word count's 1,200. We're within range. That's awesome. And we're going to kind of analyze a couple of the on-page things here in just a second. But let's move on to the next audit, which is the on-page audit for the site specifically, for the homepage specifically, which is the page that ranks. So improve content score by at least 1 for the best results. Content score is 67. Yeah, not terrible. It really isn't hard to get up into the 80s, though, especially for local sites like this. And I would show the owner of the website, like, hey, here's a bunch of the words that Google is looking for when they visit your site. Now, maybe they don't offer dental implants. Maybe there's something over here that they don't actually offer, cosmetic. Again, I didn't dig super deep into the website, but it would be very feasible that, hey, not all of these are relevant, but for the ones that are relevant, dental care, dental health, let's make sure we're adding those 1 or 2 times on the page, again, to boost that overall score and really show Google that we are highly relevant and an authority in this particular niche. All right, now I want to flip back over to the website, and I want to highlight just a couple things that really stood out to me. And I saw this actually on a couple of the dental sites that I was just looking at, and that is that the H1, or the main headline on the page, which is, the most important part of the page from an SEO standpoint, is going to be this H1, and then it's going to be your title tag. Those are the kind of the top 2, and SEOs have fought for decades over which one is the most important, but ultimately the 2 of them combined are really the most important on-page elements. But what you see here is that the business name is the H1, and I saw that with a couple different competitors. And so this would be a super, super simple thing to change this to, your Sarasota Dentist, something of that effect. It doesn't make any sense to have the logo and the company name here and then just repeat it all over again. It just doesn't benefit you in any way. And when this is one of the most heavily weighted things from Google's perspective, put your main keyword in there. Now, it doesn't have to just be your main keyword and nothing else. Like I said, it could be your Sarasota Dentist. You could figure out a creative way, maybe through, these guys have a unique selling proposition or USP that they're going to want to use. And you could drop that in there, but just make sure Sarasota Dentist is part of this particular tag. Okay, so you can see they do a lot of different things. And this is where it's just, great to drop in Sarasota Dentist into some of these areas. You can see they don't have Sarasota Dentist even once on the page. And that's where, instead of saying about us, I would say about your Sarasota Dentist, maybe a hyphen, Hillview Family Dental. You can keep it branded, but still include your keywords. I want to just really point that out, because a lot of people are like, oh, it just feels over-optimized or whatever. And no, you can be very strategic about this and make sure that you have your company name or you have your USPs in there, but you're also incorporating keywords on the page. Again, here's the thing I love about this. They've got a lot of content, which, is often the hardest thing for local businesses. Is you have a page that's frankly this, and then they have a contact form, and that's kind of like it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I need a little bit more. So these guys actually have, maybe an SEO or a webmaster that was like, hey, we've got to have, some content on the page. So let's go ahead and add this down there. This is awesome. This is like phenomenal to work with. They wouldn't need to add more content. They just need to use strategic keyword placement in here so that their core keywords are being optimized. So anyway, it's like there's great bones in place here. It's probably something my wife would say. They've got a lot of great elements, and it's just a matter of like, let's just make a couple really minor tweaks, and they'll see some pretty substantial changes. Now, last one, big fan of Bright Local. I love what they have here, and I was just kind of playing around with this. Most of this kind of GMB stuff I do just kind of by looking at it on my own without a tool, but I noticed that they had this cool little citation score thing. And so I would also show this to the client, like, look, there's a lot of, 67% are found, but there's a lot of them, pretty good ones too, that were not found. And so here we go. And so I would highlight, what those are and make sure it's clear to them, city search, white pages, local, like these all need to be added in. Really, really simple to do. Honestly, within like 30, 60 days, we can make a really big difference for this client, and I would let them know that. So I hope this local SEO audit has been helpful. Would love to get your feedback in the comments. And if you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Thanks.